Hey guys, you're looking at a blank screen. Yep, I'm going to pull up my Camtasia Studio and show you some tricks on how to make really nice looking videos for your classes. So I'm going to let my little record button here run, and I'm going to pull up Camtasia Studio. So just going to show you a little template that I've put together that allows me to kind of create some great little products. I just want to give you a quick little tour here through the product so you can kind of see what's going on. So this is what we call the tape head, and this is a little slider basically, and you can get it to kind of focus on an area by expanding their left, right buttons, and you hit play, and it's going to basically play. So it's what we call the tape head. All right, so you can just double click on it, put it back together, slide it left, slide all the way over. So you got some slide bars. You've got a number of tracks. Tracks can be objects, can be audio, can be a picture, can be some kind of annotation. So there's a whole library full of things here that you can include. You can zoom out on the tracks, you can zoom in on the tracks, and just I want to show you what I got here. So what I got at the start is I've actually created a little template here. I've got two tracks on the bottom. That's where I'm going to put my video and my audio after I hit record. So when I hit record, it's going to allow me to stick in those two pieces. I can then customize them, cut them, slice them, dice them for production and sharing of my video. So I'm just running this real quick. You can see we're running about the 2 minute mark. So I'll push that. It'll pop in right here on the bottom. So I'm just going to throw in a bogus one for a second to show you. If I throw in something, you'll get an idea on what it looks like. So I've went to my media and I found a video to add in. So this one here is a little smaller dimension and an MP4 file, one I made a while ago. I'm just going to throw it in down here. And this one actually is an older one, so it comes in as just a single track. It actually has the audio and video put together. So I'm just going to right click on it and I'm going to separate the two. So that's why I left two tracks on the bottom. I know that probably like if depending on the recording and if you want to take the volume down a little bit, or sometimes you record too low, or if you say you go with some of your audio effects, you could do some noise removal. That's simple as just dragging it down, dragging it down. If you want to do some audio compression, maybe it's a really long movie, you want to just cut it out. Maybe you want to just have a little fade in. Okay, notice a little line here. This is the graphic that indicates what the volume is, going from 0 all the way up to full volume, and looks to be over about, well, let's find out. Let's find out how long. Move the track head over to the start. It can also, when you see this yellow line pop up, it'll sometimes also kind of stick, so it knows there's key points. You can see it kind of grabs, and so that looks to be about 13 seconds. So that blue area is about 13, well, 12 and a half seconds. That's a really long intro for volume, but just to show you. And if I change my mind and I want to get rid of it, objects, you just click on them once, right click and delete. So you can undo, so I can get rid of it that way too. So if I zoom out here, I'm going to zoom out all the way out, and there's my end. So what I've done is I've made all my endings a part of this template. And what I do is I just drag them all at once and use that little auto kind of join or alignment feature. Now you can't really tell what they are at this scale. You can kind of zoom in a little closer. And so that, let's just, I mean, really all I would have done is just hit the record button, and I'm going to try it. So you can see here, this particular video is a little bit smaller, but that's no problem. You can take the video and you can resize it. Now, depending on the aspect ratio of how you've set up your your video, you might not be able to fit it, or you can cut some of it off. So this one was done with a little different setting. So if I stretch this one too far, I'm going to start cutting stuff off. So I either have to make a decision about changing the size of my entire video, and that's easily done as well using the project settings. So this one here was was a 10, was a 1600. I think my computer monitor's running at a 1980, 1930 by, well, basically it's the aspect ratio of the height to the width is a little different than the movie I've created or I'm inserting. So I can change that and make them fit better. So those are things you can do. If you're not too worried about it, just trying to crank it out, then you don't just let it roll. I can slide this along. As I slide it along, you can see I get the little thumbnails. And as I get to the end, so what I typically try to do is once I record, I throw it in here. I do some quick editing. If I know that I made a mistake, here's my little trick. If I made a mistake here somewhere, I make myself like a 5-second pause, because then when I'm looking at it and I zoom into it, the 5-second pause gives me an indication that maybe that was where my problem started, and I can kind of drag it over to where it ends, and then I can just kind of easily go in here and say, okay, make sure I pick both pieces. I'm going to pick both pieces using my shift key. And if I go here and cut, it actually cuts out that segment. So let's say I know, you can tell by the little marker there, it's actually cut out the junk. So and then I can go ahead and just try it.
Push it into the
And I don't know if that was real or not, but you can see that audio and the visual are gone, and I can just play it.
handles, push it into the corner.
And it's seamless. There's no real transition as long as you cut it slightly after what you said was wrong. So that's where my little trick is to kind of just leave those little spaces. Okay, so I run through it real quick. I make myself some notes. Maybe that's another space where I made a mistake. Maybe I need to cut it out again. But so I slide through it. I do a quick little run through on it. If it's too noisy, I use some of my removal techniques. If I want to crank up the gain, maybe it's a little too low. Notice here as I click on different types of objects, I get different properties. So I can crank up the amount of gain. You can crank up the amount of noise removal. You can kind of play around it so it sounds nice. Go to the end. So I'm at the end and I want a little fade out. Let me show them. There's my fade out. I'm not sure why it's not grabbing. Maybe there's already one on it. I'll do a transition on the fade. So that's a fade there. So I can increase my fade length. So that's a 2-second fade out. I want to just try that. I'll click on the tape head, bring the tape head over. Okay, double click, and I'll start there. I'll give a little play. Watch it fade. Then my intro. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have questions, drop me a line. So these are just some different objects. I put a little voice overlay. I have a graphic. I have a couple little text boxes here. So these are just simple things. Go to the library, add them in, and then align them, talk about how long they want to be. Just start stretching these things, or then you just play it back and forth till you're happy with how it looks. So that's a finished video. That's why it's in there twice. So I might want to cut that out. So let's say that's my old one. So I just want to cut that out. I'm gonna right click here, shift, cut this out, cut. Okay, it slides everything together. That's the nice part. Okay, I don't want a marker. I'm gonna delete that. So there's my tape head. Let me try this again.
PDF for submission to a client.
Maybe I just want a little bit more fade on that. Let me make that a little bit longer. Let me try it again.
You have to convert any kind of document into a PDF for submission to a client.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you have, so I've built the template. You can change some of the words, change your own email. So if I want to change the email, I just slide it to where I see it. I can just double click on it right in the video, and you can move it. You get the properties of it, so you can just click on it twice and you can edit it, move it around. Okay, so I'll just do an undo here. I think I accidentally pushed it a little bit up. So easy to edit, easy to add things. There's a whole library full of sounds and objects and things to play with intros. So you don't have to build, you don't have to use this one. You can build your own. You can do things like on the lower third if you want to, display a piece of information, a note. There's so much more, and you can actually download a whole pile of library assets that they provide free with to licensed users. So once it's all said and done, and you're happy with how it looks, and you've done a little bit of editing, so I got this down to probably a 10-minute process now, or even less, depending on how good a job I did with the recording. I'll slide my tape head over. I don't usually tend to watch the whole thing again. Um, I then say, okay, I'm going to save it. Okay, and then I'm going to go to share, and I'm going to share by creating the local file. And so it's going to ask me for my production settings. I typically have been using 720p, so that gives you enough quality that it's not too heavy, kind of goes really well on Brightspace without being too much quality. If you find that some of the stuff you recorded really needs the extra attention to detail, not as legible as you like it to be, go with an MP4 1080p file. You can also go higher. If you have a YouTube account, you can go directly to your YouTube account. You can share directly to screencast.com. Some of the guys are using that because it's also made by the same company, TechSmith. So another similar kind of product, but this one gives you the full features, no restrictions in capacity, no restrictions on how long the video can be, and you just give it a try. So a lot of cases, the defaults here are fine. I won't scroll through them then. If you get into a situation where you really want to experiment with some of the different closed captions or some different effects, give it a try. But generally speaking, that's the gist of how to make it. Open the template. So I would just start with a new project, or what I would typically do is open up a project. So I'd open up one of my previous templates. So I have a few templates to work from. I have one for my phone. I have one for my with sound. I have one without sound intros. So depending on what kind of product I'm looking for and how big my monitor is, I usually got one for a different size monitor. I should have started this project with a different size project settings. That way I wouldn't have to resize them automatically. So this one's set up for my large monitor with intro sound. That's the one I've been demonstrating. So I hit the record button and I add in my two pieces, do a little check, slice and dice a few pieces out of here. I got it down to about a 5-minute process. And I find that the production of it obviously depends on the abilities of your laptop, but a 20-minute video for processing, at least on this computer, the department's given us, can take between 5 and 10 minutes. And then posting it to Brightspace obviously is dependent on the speed of your internet connection. So that's a quick little run through. If you want the template, I'll certainly share it with you. You can give it a try and see how it runs. So with that said and done,
Once you've done it a couple times
I will
to PDF for
cue
submission to a client.
cue the ending. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have questions, drop me a line. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have questions, drop me a line.